This is You vs. You, episode 6, calling it an average day. My name is Dave Woods, your host, and I'm here with the lovely
Alicia Morales.
And we're here. Let's get in. Let's get in after this. This is I always wanted to treat the beginning of an episode as if it's the first time that someone's heard this.
Okay.
And it's episode 6, so if they haven't heard the pilot episode, let alone episode 4, let alone this one, they can still feel like, I get the gist of it. I'm feeling motivated. I'm able to ask myself some really important questions. I can find my reason, the why to chase after my goal, to live it, and then reach it just by coming in a random episode, right? For instance, episode 6, how would I do it? So my whole MO is saying, I lost 100 pounds. A lot of people have asked me how I did it. This is the very detailed conversation style podcast on how I did it and how you can apply those strategies to your life and to what you're going after.
Well, then let's jump into for you to tell us, what is the philosophy of the title of the show, You versus You?
Yes. I feel completely inspired for having received that, because just the more that I think about the pattern and that the new habits that I formed, I feel like this is something that touched my mind from God to say, call it this, You versus You, instead of, I had some other names going, but the relevance of it is, it comes down to not me versus Alicia Morales. It's not me versus Michael B. Jordan. It's not me versus Schwarzenegger in his prime. Not me versus Muhammad Ali in his prime. It's Dave Woods versus Dave Woods. And one of those versions is the old me, the 335-pound version of me, while the new me is the one who's pushing against the grain, who's swimming upstream, who's constantly trying to just evolve and go higher, bring it to the next level. And it's not about the other person who is in shape at the gym, rando stranger at the gym who's already in shape, all the way to the person who's going to the gym for the first time and they look like a deer caught in headlights, not knowing what to do at the gym, right? It's not about that. It's about me versus the default version of me at the gym, only concerned about that version of the gym, right? So that's actually one of the things that gets me out of bed when my alarm clock goes up at 4:30 in the morning to start it. So this is that's the driving force, that constant reminder, especially when you click on an episode, You versus You. It's actually the person listening versus that same person listening, but their default mode, right? So moving from glory to glory, as we were talking about earlier today, it's, you have the potential of what you could be, and then there's the status quo of what you are, and that's it. You versus You.
Right. You can't stay where you are. You have to move forward. Right. But what about the logo, Dave?
Shout out.
Tell us
Kike.
about the logo.
Shout out Kike on that. So I'm a huge fan of just riffs on popular logos that we all recognize, right? And just puns and things that you would recognize. And when you do a double take, you say, "Wait a second, you're just being silly. You're a fool for that one." And my favorite logo to just run away. Well, I'd say originally it was the Qdoba symbol, the cactus for the awesome burritos, right? But one of the most recognizable logos on the face of the planet is those golden arches, right? My buddy back home, I'll leave his name out of it just for the Easter egg of it, would call McDonald's Mackie Mackie Dodos, and that was like the code word for McDonald's, and we just did it just to be silly and laugh a lot. But now seeing it, especially in coming to America, where it's like McDowell's, You know, the golden, what was it? The golden arcs, right? And McDonald's stole it from me, right? A little homage right there. But to say, oh, we're gonna flip it to be the capital U versus capital U, and treat that like the upside down arches, with the theme of McDonald's it's just rich. It's really full of just full of that feel good. I just want to laugh every time I see it. I never get old. It never gets old. So that's the philosophy and the logo. How you'd recognize it all together.
It pushes me away from those fries.
Good. Yeah, that's yeah.
And from that dollar menu.
You put enough Crisco on anything, it's delicious. But that's part and parcel of what the problem is.
That's the problem.
Right? So the going deep into losing a lot of weight, we'll say 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds and up, is not just because of bad eating habits. It's a systemic issue. Like it has the domino effect of hitting other areas of your life, but it's disguised as, oh hey, these are some delicious fries, right? So,
or they have a special on their, one of their combos.
Here's a special, Alicia. Look how they make their chicken nuggets.
Exactly.
Right? And if I were to fast forward in the...
Have you seen the movie?
I'm going to go check it out.
Oh, you should.
I feel I'm loath to admit it, but I haven't even seen Super Size Me either. So there's a couple of these movies where I'm like, I got to check this out. But one of the nastiest things I've ever seen was how they're making their chicken nuggets. And if I would just fast forwarded to that scene, you'd say, oh, no, that's froyo. It's strawberry froyo. No, that is pulverized chickens that are being dispensed, and it looks like froyo. But when you see the scenes before that, you're like, right? It's absolutely disgusting. You want to vomit.
Okay, but now sound effects.
Sound effects. Let's see. Oh wait, let's hit it. We gotta label these. Okay, let's see. I didn't hear anything. Okay. We're gonna need Kike
to edit on minute.
I think he might have deleted some of the effects, like, or it's missing the card. But that's here's the effect. I don't want to repulse people if this is your first time listening, and I'm making my own vomit noises. Right. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. Saying here's something that's attractive to the eye, aesthetically pleasing. Then you look a little deeper and you're like, oh, that's funny. I get that reference. It's a fitness podcast, motivational podcast. Oh, well, hold on. Why is it you versus you? So that's the rundown. That at the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, at the end of the day, it's never about any other outside force except for you. So it's you versus you.
Nice. So now, what's an average day? This
is the baseline foundational point, and that's why I want to talk about it for an hour. Is the average day looks like it starts with the morning routine. The second you set your alarm, and so you set your alarm the day before, but it needs to be an anticipation of what your goal is.
How many alarms?
I set two. So I set the loud jarring one that sounds like a fire alarm and hits that the fight or flight response, right? That's the one that I set. But then the one I set on my phone is a couple minutes earlier, and it's more gentle to just ease myself up out of it. But then I know if I don't get up and turn off my scary alarm first, I will be jarred awake, and then it'll be the fight response. So the beauty of that actually is when you get in, especially if you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning, your body starts to wake up naturally before that goes off. When you set your mind right and you're calm and you're ready and you're prepared. So one of the things, the little techniques along that line is to put your alarm clock out of reach, right? Completely out of reach. So I have my phone maybe about 4 feet away from where my feet are, feet are located on the bed, and so I can't possibly reach it, even if I were to, be an acrobat and go to the edge of my bed and reach over. No, it's not going to work. And then the loud jarring alarm clock is about 3 inches away from my furthest reach on the bedstand. So if I were to try and bridge that gap between the three, I would fall out of bed, and that would definitely wake me up. That's the whole point, is to be able to roll out of bed inspired and then say, oh, this is the time to set my mind right.
Right. And if I'm not motivated though, what do I do? There's days where it's I set my alarms and then okay, I'm ready to get out the door to go to the gym, and then I park and I just sit there. Motivation's not there.
This is the thing that I try to make a point to say in every episode of writing down the vision. Because when you remind yourself of the vision before you go to bed, it's going to be on your mind when your alarm clock goes off at some ungodly hour, right? But then when your alarm has gone off, you look at the vision again, and then you put it into motion. When you roll into the gym, you show up at the track, wherever you're doing your workout. You go over the vision again, this time with your eyes closed, and visualize what it's like to be where you want to be. You're at that vision already. So psychologically, you are setting that into motion, and that's pushing away the lack of motivation. Right? So this is going to just be a constant reminder of writing it down.
So this brings it back a little bit to the topic from last episode, where it's like finding something that you really, or like an exercise that really you enjoy doing, right? It's not 50 push-ups, find something out, being on the treadmill a little bit longer.
I'm a huge proponent of building your workout around the ones that you enjoy. But then there's going to be exercises that you don't like. When you have the ball rolling and your heart rate's up, you broke a little bit of a sweat, it's actually not an insurmountable task to do the exercises you don't like, right? So if you are in that frame of mind, it's usually not that difficult. It's the beginning part of not having that motivation, right? So in the end, it's going to be worth it, right? The rest when you're done. You think about how many times you did build up doing that exercise you didn't like doing, and then you got to where you were going and said, hey, how did I do that? Oh, it's because you shut down you shut down the default mode, right?
Right.
Because that's the whole thing you're trying to put to rest and just constantly keep behind you. And especially with the holidays approaching, that default mode is going to be speaking a little bit louder, and then motivation is going to be a lot lower. So this is now preparing yourself for that.
Especially the weather changing. It's like about 5 more minutes in bed.
Yep. About 5 more minutes in bed. Oh no, I feel like I might be getting a little bit of a cough or a little bit wheezy. No. You hawk that loogie immediately.
Oh my
and then spit it out, and then have that tonic, right? Have the hot water, lemon, a little bit of salt, and a touch of honey, and you'll feel fine, right?
I'm saying because that happened to me today, where I walked out of the house later than what I usually do to make it to the 7 o'clock class, right, at the camp. And I'm like, oh, I could go to the next class, but I'm like, no, that means my schedule's going to be behind, so I'll go tomorrow, or I'll go later.
Put that to sleep. Put it to death. Yeah, so that's actually part of the reason why I call it an average day, because your average day is going to say, oh, I'm going to be ready for this 8 a.m. class. And if I can't do it, and it better not because I'm not feeling motivated, I'm going to go to the next available one. And if that's in the evening, it's saying, okay, I just took the loss. I'm doing my average, and now the backstop is to go at night. And that's actually what happened to me today, right? And so I have my gym bag ready to go, headphones charged up, phone is charged up, but my schedule has been adjusted. As long as I hit those numbers and it's within those 24 hours, I'm on track. In the perfect day, it's me getting up at 4:30 in the morning doing it. Right now, I'm not able to do that because I can't leave Catalina by herself, right? So this would say, oh, my new 4:30 in the morning, no excuse workout is going to be at 9 a.m., right? And that's having adjusted with knowing that on these days, I have a toddler who's asleep that, as a single father, no one else is there. I wouldn't be able, that'd be a lack of responsibility to just leave her at home, right? So, no, it's not even a question. I now can't do that perfect day, average day workout that I was doing a couple weeks ago, right? So that's fine. Go at 9.
Do you think there could be an alternative for example, for a single parent with their child?
Yeah, well, that's adjusting on what that time is,
okay.
but now it's not as convenient, right? So
because there's gyms that have childcare, right?
Yeah, and that's the alternative. But
go to the park.
Go to the park. Yeah, but the time slot is the thing that has shifted, right? And so if I have my my Rocky theme going, oh, I'm ready at 4:30 to just crush it at the gym.
Right.
If time does not permit for that next time is 9 a.m. If 9 a.m. doesn't work, like how it didn't work today, I'm gonna have to go in the evening time. And although it's better for lifting weights, cardio wise, that's my least favorite time, right? So I purposely front load the harder part, the strenuous part for the morning or the earliest time possible, because I know enough about myself that come 7 p.m. I don't want to be doing HIIT training on the elliptical machine at the gym. It's going to be packed, right? Everyone and their grandma is at the gym in the evening, right? So yeah, this is, yeah, you know what, let me 86 that. I'll say, in a perfect world, I'd have all the equipment at my house. I'd have an in-home gym, but that's also not the reality. So it's how do you roll within the variables that you do have. So if this is that's the mindset for going into it, for the perfect morning, and then saying the average day looks like this. Alarm clock goes off, and I set my mind right by having reviewed the goal. Not only did I review the goal the night before and went to sleep on it, but woke up with it on my mind, ready to rock. Pull up to the gym, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. That's symbolic of that scene in Rocky, round 14, Apollo Creed, right? Gets knocked down, then it's building up to, are you going to stay down, or are you going to get up and fight? Right? The hardest round, right? So, we might have to break out the paper checklist of how many times I say so. No, don't do it. It's gonna. I'm gonna have to have my eyes closed so I don't get distracted when I see you mark it again. And it's sort of like that. Did you see the movie Fifth Element?
No.
Oh man, you need to check it out. At the beginning of the movie, there's this kid who, like, they're doing this archaeological dig, and they're somewhere in the Middle East, and this little kid is reflecting the light down this, the archaeological site. So they have light, and the guy who's excavating, every time the light moves, it's because the kid's falling asleep. He's nodding off and not holding the mirror. He's like, Aziz, more light. And then the other guy is like, Aziz, more light. And he marks a little check mark over it. He's got a bunch marked off. So that's the whole thing right there. I'll immediately start laughing and go, Aziz, more light.
Yeah, so, well, let's continue.
Let's
see if we hear it. So, no. No. What would you tell the person who's intimidated? I mean, now that we're talking about alternatives, right? What would you tell the person who is intimidated by going to the gym or by the gym?
It's you versus you. There's a lot of the workouts you can do not in the gym, but there comes a point where you're going to need weighted resistance. And that is when you're cooking with gas, is when you have that weighted resistance. Right? So if you have the access to heavy things, and that you can record what your average is, if you're able to review those notes from moving the heavy objects, then go about it anyway. Pick up stuff that's in your garage or miscellaneous things around the house. But the fear of going to the gym comes with a price, but then also what you can do to circumvent that, overcome that fear. And a lot of times it just has to do with unfamiliarity with the layout. People are always the same wherever you go, whether you're at LA Fitness, 24, Gold's Gym, name the joint, right? There's going to be some mega bros there. There's going to be some semi-pro people. There's going to be some professional athletes, right? Probably not regularly at a certain gym, and then more likely at another gym. But there's still different levels of what you know and how you carry it. And so I think for the person who's unfamiliar with the gym, they assume everyone is professional XYZ person, and that's just not the case, right? You have all shapes and sizes, all ages, all levels of experience. So if you are intimidated about the gym, get a gym buddy. Go with someone who does know what they're doing, or go in there saying, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for a personal trainer." And then when you become more of a regular at the gym, you'll see, people are people, no matter what country you're in, too. No matter what
in the same boat.
All in the same boat. And so this now goes back to it's you versus you. At a certain moment in any workout routine, there becomes you need to push harder, right? So we'll say you're week 3, having been brand new, you can adjust the weights to be something that they weren't before. And you'd have not just a psychological marker, but then a visual of knowing that you used to do 10 pounds and now you're doing 12 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, right? 50 pounds. But the workout buddy, or going with a group, or having a personal trainer will definitely be a push. So yeah, I think half of it is just not knowing the lay of the land. But then when you start to go, fast forward in time 1 year into going to the gym for the first time, it's way different, and you'll even laugh. You'll say, "Oh man, what was I so scared about this place?" Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and even though there's others that are, more fit, or gyms their thing, right? The gym's not for everyone, but even if the thing is that you started, I think, the fact that you started going to the gym and making it a habit. Once you start, increasing the weights. But, it's been always my fear as well, now that I've been weightlifting, little by little, like increasing the weight. What if I get huge?
No. I'm gonna stop you right there. No. Whether you're a guy or a girl, you're not gonna get huge by going to the gym. There are people who train their entire lives to become IFBB pro, and they still don't win. So you don't think you're gonna do 10 push-ups and all of a sudden your traps are gonna be bursting out of whatever outfit you're wearing, or all of a sudden you got tree trunk legs. That's not the thing. That's false. That is false. There are very few instances where average person who was not an athlete or thought of themselves as an athlete starts working out, and all of a sudden none of their clothes fit because they've been going to the gym for 8 weeks. That's false. If you are doing sports enhancement, drugs, chemically induced something, that's the only way. Yes, I always hate saying the word steroids. I've never taken steroids, but I still don't like saying it, right? If you're taking steroids, yes, that is a legitimate fear. That's what you should be scared. Then you should also be scared that you would be growing a beard, because that's what would happen if you're taking steroids, right? Yeah, it impacts the body in terrible ways, right?
Yeah.
There are arguments about HGH after retirement age, where it'd be able to HGH,
Oh.
human growth hormone.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a steroidal compound without being. I'm pretty sure it's not illegal. It's illegal in sports for obvious reasons, but that's an argument for another day, because I don't think many 65-year-olds who are not familiar with the gym are going to start going to the gym and taking HGH to just be in shape, right? That's.
I don't know, because I start seeing, when I'm lifting the bar, I start seeing my veins like pop. I'm like,
yeah, that's vascularity. Yeah, exactly. So that's actually a really good sign, because that means oxygen is going to the muscles, it's circulating as it ought to be circulating, and then your body is reacting to the stress. So that's a good sign. That's the pump right there.
Yeah, my goal isn't to be huge or have like muscles or not defined, right? But yeah, that's my fear.
Okay, look at, we're gonna use an
like when you
example.
see in the magazines, the weightlifting.
That's so.
Or Venice Beach.
Venice Beach is more realistic, because that person actually looks like that, and they might be having taken some chemicals, right? But the way to holding a physique that is vascular and veins popping out everywhere doesn't happen from going to the gym for 6 to 8 weeks. Right? You build up to that, right? And so I think that the whole thing that I'm getting at while answering this question is that is a fantasy that's been turned into a fear that is just not real, right? If you look at the physique of LeBron James, Serena Williams, name the athlete, they are I don't want to say freak of nature, not a freak of nature, but there's the perfect lineup of discipline, focus, making that your life, and then the training on top of that they've been doing for life to look like that. And when you look at other people in their position on the opposite teams, they don't look like that, right? They don't look like that. So just think for a little bit, like, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at a picture of him as a teenager, and then in his young 20s, and then when he's 28. Those are extreme gains that just are not realistic for 99%.
What about now?
What about now? Yep. So that's actually the contrast. Is say, look at him now, having been retired for how many years, right? And then say, oh, okay, well, he had access to, well, one, he's a pioneer, so I have nothing negative to say about that. But the whole thing is, you're not the first person to ask that question. Oh, I'm afraid of getting huge. This is not going to happen, right? Girls and guys have said that. Oh, if I train like that, I'm going to get huge. No. This is another way to contrast it is, look at my physique. Right? If I showed you a detailed workout from even before I lost 100 pounds, you'd probably say, oh, I figured you'd be in more shape. That's what it looks like, because I've been training since I was 14. I wasn't always doing the cardio part, and definitely was not eating right, because I wouldn't have gone up 100 pounds. But it's still a moment of what it really looks like if you train hard and for an extended amount of time. Right? So in this moment, it's 4 years of training to be where I'm at right now. And if you didn't know the backstory, you might not even know that I lost 100 pounds, especially if we're new to just chopping it up, or for familiarity, I should say. So yeah, that's a common misconception. And then I'll say, why don't you try? Oh, if you're afraid of having tree trunk legs, let's see how much you can squat, and then just try and break that record every year. And then at that point where you have veins coming out of the teardrop in the quad, that's the one. When you have veins coming out of your legs, right there in the quad, then we'll say, yep, I was wrong, Alicia. You did lift too hard, right? But it's not going to be. Yeah. It's not going. You're going to see it gradually become what it is, and it's not going to be 3 months later. Right. It's not going to be even 9 months later.
True. Wow. We'll see.
Okay.
I'll see you in 9 months.
I challenge everyone listening to say, without taking performance enhancing drugs.
Uh-huh.
I want to get as big as possible, see what happens. Yeah.
As we continue to talk about an average day, with how everything is changing, right? Technology, we're becoming more being at home or more robotic. So, how do you think that could also affect our average day?
Well, I think it builds into the sedentary lifestyle of just not moving and then gaining weight, and then that actually
we're
goes
becoming the Jetsons.
The jet, or what all the characters from Wall-E. Wall-E. That's to me that's a terrifying movie, right? Just for seeing how almost prophetic it is of saying, oh hey, as technology advances, we have to do less and just let the machine take over. But then how that affects the human body. Right? So I actually don't think about that much because it's you versus you.
Right, exactly. But I'm just thinking because while in my field, it's the whole AI is going to start affecting, start seeing it, and I think in all the industries, right? Yeah. But now it's like, how is it going to affect the human life, right? Obviously, we have to see it in an ethical way too, right? But how can it affect for those that are not, don't have a discipline yet in their lifestyle?
That's the habit that needs to get broken. No matter what happens with technology, it's still going back to the basics of running, jumping, swimming, walking, climbing, pushing, pulling, right? All those things should be part of your daily habit because you need to move, right? Unless you're, wheelchair bound or in traction, there's no excuse why you can't walk around, right? But then the next part is training and doing something that you haven't done before, and typically that's lifting weights, right? Any of those movements, whether you're standing up out of a chair or bending down to tie your shoe and you're on one leg and then you stand up, like that's a lunge right there. Pulling yourself up or twisting, doing moving the transverse abdominis, where you're moving forward and twisting to the side. That's actually where the word oblique comes from, the side and then moving. All of those things you should not have pain doing those movements. But then when there's resistance, your body adapts to it faster than you think. So snapping yourself out of that malaise. Did I say that right? I don't know. We're gonna have to fact check that later. Kike, you don't have to edit that out. But snapping yourself out from saying this is what average looks like, that's actually the whole point of the training part. When you're repeating that motion and it's under tension, that's where you get stronger. So we're not saying make these tremendous gains right away. It's moving away from what that default was and then getting stronger from there little by little. So going back to your question of saying how's AI impacting it, I'd say just strip it away for a little bit. What's the workout going to look like without a phone? Right? You're still able to move the bar if you're not listening to music or looking at your phone or looking at the routine or answering phones. Like, I'm definitely a huge fan of not answering the phone at the gym. But the whole thing is having that understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's why I keep harping on go over that goal and what does it take to get there. So regardless of if you forgot your headphones, you do have your headphones, your phone's working, your phone's not working, you should be able to break a hard sweat, whether you're at the gym or at the track, walking around the neighborhood. And I guess tangentially, I've been getting a lot of feedback about the card game trick, right? And the variations of it. That is the great starting point of going through these movements, start with the ones you like, but then incorporate ones that you don't like, just so you have overall health and don't become injury prone because you're neglecting certain areas. But if you start with 10 cards and you're doing the exercises, the next week try and do 12 cards. A couple weeks, work up to 20. Then go for personal best or personal record, that PR. Try and do all of them. Right? What can you hold and do that's challenging enough? You're like, man, I wouldn't want to do that again, but not hard enough where you get burnt out doing it. Go for that, and then keep it around there so that you're moving the sticks in terms of what your average is.
Nice. Okay.
Just challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now we have the workout, right? The
Mm-hmm.
physical. But now, okay, my mom, the way she cooks,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or when I go to my friend's house, or and they cook a certain way. How can I also make adjustments, right? When I go somewhere.
Yeah. All right. So this question is a little too real because this happens to anyone who is not living in a cave, right? So you have pretty much 3 options. You could either say no, which is very hard to do, but then also might come across as rude, or you can adjust to the things that you're able to eat at the person's house, especially if you live with that person. But then how do you prepare for that? And that might actually be where the secret sauce is saying, if you know you're going to some event, birthday party, dinner party, whatever it may be, eat beforehand. If you did not eat beforehand, how can you incorporate most likely more veggies into it, right? So the thing that I would recommend doing is accepting whatever that dish is, but a smaller portion, and then supplementing it with the salad, or put in the default thing there, and then eat that part first. Drink a huge glass of water, and then eat the food that was offered to you. And you will have modified what could have been actually sabotage to what your workout or your diet was, right? Whatever those restrictions are. There are definitely times when you can't really make an adjustment, right? Maybe you didn't have that bowl of cereal in your meal prep container in your car, but that should be an outlier, right? And so if it's Thanksgiving, right, I definitely would start with doing some of those push-ups, doing some of those lunges, doing some of those crunches, eating a salad first, drinking a big glass of water, then having a moderate-sized plate. Right? But you're going to have to be hyper-aware of that for every meal, especially during the holidays, because that bounce back afterwards is very hard. And that's it's embarrassing to say. What is it? 10 months later, I'm adjusting back to what happened last year, right? And so it's not a huge. I'd say it's a pitfall, but it's something that's insurmountable. But it's now saying, hey, my physique is different than a lot of other people's physiques, and then my body is able to handle things. Or actually, my body doesn't handle things like how their bodies handle things. So I can't eat like how I used to eat, especially in the troubled times, which is leading up to Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day. Like all those things are workout sabotages, lifestyle sabotages. So without becoming a recluse, how do you adjust in it? And that's up to each person, but be very aware that this might be the thing that is keeping you back from from losing those 15 pounds, 25 pounds, 30 pounds.
Wow.
Well, hold on. Let's rewind a second. We'll let that settle in, and because the whole point of this episode was the setting up the average day, and then having that backstop, just in case Murphy's Law comes into play, and you can't do what you do on that average day. I really have it set up on 3 tenets, and it's being the workout, the refuel and recovery, and then the rest. Right, those 3 tiers to make up the new average will keep you on track.
What was that again?
The workout, the refueling and recovery phase, and then the rest. Right. If you have the tight parameters around those things, you're going to be just fine for however long it is, whether it's the 68-week program or that's just what your life looks like now.
Then you have the consistency.
Yeah, that's the theme, consistency. You will be consistent. It really depends how fast you want to get to that goal. You know, the hypervigilance on it is great for, those 8 weeks, and then when you adjust to it, oh man, you're there. But then you're gonna have to say no somewhere along those lines, like all of those things, right? The leisurely activities, is it leisurely, or is it set up for failure, right? Oh, my leisurely activity is going to the bar and having whatever food. Well, you're gonna have to say no. You're gonna say no to that, right? Might be for a time and season, or might say, I'm severely limit my time at that place. Oh, I have to say yes to every invitation to a birthday party, right? No, you don't. You can also show up late, and you'll also leave early, right? This is the preparation for the things that are going to come in contact or conflict with what your goals are. And I said before, darn it, I'll say it again, right? Write the vision down and keep reviewing the vision. Okay?
Even though we're on the 10th month of the year, and our New Year resolution is out the window. Out the window.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Make it the 10th month.
Oh, well, it depends, because if your goal, let's say it was something non-physical, like reading books, if you had chosen 5 books to read, in 10 months, if you'd been disciplined and consistent, you probably would have finished those 10 books, right? I'm a huge fan of reading 1 or 2 pages of a book a day, because in 365 days, you'll most likely have finished that one book. So there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to push a little harder and say, I'm going to read 3 different books, but approach with that same mentality, 2 pages a day. Right? Those are the micro adjustments to break the old default of not having read those books. Because the statistics for the average American is after college age, 21, 22, the average American reads 1 book. Right? That's deplorable. If it's reading the Bible, yeah, sure. Well, that's a lifetime of reading, right?
Wow.
But yeah, if you consider that, like, oh,
now we listen to audiobooks.
Then there's definitely no excuse for audiobooks, because if you listen for 5 minutes, that's probably going to be more than what you would have read in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Right? So that's actually the secret to crushing books in my world, is listening to audiobooks or things that are pertinent to my field and my interests, but then limiting myself. Because, if I were to open my phone right now and show you what people are texting me, oh, hey, look at this YouTube video. Oh, hey, look at this. Oh, listen to my podcast. Except for me, because I like listening to you versus you. Look, if you add up those minutes for, oh, I'm going to look at this video. It's 2 minutes. Oh, this one's 10 minutes. Oh, this one's an hour. Right? You're able to do that in 24. You have 24 hours in a day like everyone else on the planet. But if you tally up those hours, those minutes and hours, you can definitely sacrifice to do 2 pages a day of your own book that you chose to read, and then, listen to whatever it is.
Yeah, it's
right?
Like I've seen a few books that I own, that I have, and I've seen them on, like, as an audiobook or on YouTube, and it says it's only an hour or long, and it takes me forever to read.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, in an hour I could actually listen to the book.
Let me break it down to you like this, Alicia. Do you remember having a syllabus and seeing what that reading was? Right? We never really paid attention to how long it would take, but you definitely carved out time in the day to do it because you knew you were a student. That's what your life was.
Or they forced you, like read 30 minutes a day. Yes,
but
not forced.
Everyone reads at different speeds,
pace,
and at a different pace, and then takes in information differently. But when you had it on your syllabus, you knew, oh, I'm taking this finance class. There's going to be X amount of time for homework, and then one of those things is doing the reading, right? And so it was just ingrained in your schedule. You could still do that same thing right now and treat it with, say, your New Year's resolution of reading 5 books. If you said, you remind yourself, October 13th, 12th, my bad. I'm already living in the future, right? If it's October 12th, and you had that syllabus on your calendar, you best believe those 5 books would have been done already, right? So, yeah, it's I hate talking about peripheral things that I do, right? But that is actually the key to success for me being an avid reader. Just 2 pages a day of whatever book I'm reading, and then listening to the audiobook version of it too. So before I go to bed, I'll read something, right? It typically is scripture, but other times it's usually something of spiritual nature. So John Paul Jackson is one of my favorite go-to guys, especially with dream interpretation and just the prophetic. But the whole point is still saying there's a marked out time for quieting myself down, calming my mind, and reading, because it does demand a certain amount of focus. And then with that focus, that's great for right before bed, because I'm able to ease into sleep and have really deep sleep. And that's the 3rd tier, right? The workout, the refueling and recovery, 2nd tier, and the 3rd is rest. If you're getting deep sleep, all of a sudden you don't have half as many issues because you're not overwhelmed. Right? You're not sick. You're definitely motivated because you've been recharged. Right? So that's part of the domino effect for those 3 tiers, right? And that's in a way part and parcel for what the systemic issue was for getting out of shape, right? Being overwhelmed, bogged down, stressed out, and then there was no release for that energy, that kinetic energy that's just bouncing around, but it's looking at something in a negative sense, right? It's going over fears. It's reinforcing negative talk. It's feeling like everything is just dismal. And then all of a sudden, I'm bugging out, and I feel like I'm always on a time crunch. I need to go busy to get things done, but not feeling like I've gone anywhere, right? The one that changed everything was working out, right? All of a sudden, a 10-minute walk after eating a meal, I'm taking in new information that's not on my phone. It's not coming from a book, and just observing the atmosphere. Oh, hey, look at this tree. Oh, look at that building. Oh, wow, that's a different type of caterpillar. I don't remember the last time I saw a caterpillar, right? Just having those thoughts that aren't structured on anything except for the 10 minutes of low impact cardio, that changes the game. So now my stress has gone down. The blood is flowing from the stomach back to the head, and I'm not feeling lethargic after a meal. Oh, that adds up. 30 minutes a day, and super easy. Now I'm thinking about other things outside of myself and how much time that I have to complete those things. Right?
Yes. Wow. So what would be the 5 points?
Gotcha. You just said so. So Alicia 1, Dave Woods 75. Okay. The 5 points for what?
For an average day.
Oh man, yeah, which is the whole point of this episode. So 76. Okay. the average day is going from what your default was. So you had the way of doing things that led to that point of saying, I want to make a change, but am I going to make a change? Can I make a change? How do I make a change? That is the old version. The new version starts the second you conceive that idea, and then write it down. You have to write it down though. Putting it into practice, because you came up with the strategy. This is what I'll do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. It moves into, this has now become the pattern for changing up what the default mode used to be. And now it's saying, okay, now that you've hit that first goal, how do you not fall off the wagon and then eventually find yourself back in your default mode, right? So I'm a huge fan of reviewing pictures of what you used to look like. All right, just look. That version is waiting for you. It is waiting for you. I see it come. It starts to sneak out come January. After feasting as the vacation, right?
I showed you my before and after.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But it's phenomenal too. That's why I'm like, hey, we got to do this podcast together because this is great. And there's a bunch of people I'm meaning to get on the show to talk about it, because a fear is a great motivator. It shouldn't be the ultimate motivator, but when you look at what you look like before you started working out and making that embarking on that fitness journey, that clears out all the mess and saying, why am I doing this? Because I know that version of Dave Woods is waiting for me, right? So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back to that, especially the older that I get. Right? So you know what? I like saying so. I'm embracing it. So don't keep track anymore.
I lost track.
Perfect. I'll fill it in. I'll supplement my vocabulary with some GRE words, and no one will be none the wiser. The whole thing that I'm getting at is when you create that new average day, there comes a point where you push yourself a little harder, and you then separate yourself from what that new average was. And for me, it looked like knowing why I was doing the workout, doing the training, but then constantly reminding myself of it as a point of ingrained motivation. That self-motivation comes from knowing, if I stop doing this, I will get out of shape.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How fast do I get out of shape? Well, pretty quickly. But if I'm consistent, it's not happening, right? It's just not happening. If you have your goal set up and you're getting closer to that goal, set up your second huge goal, right? So when you've hit that, when you finally reach that destination, especially if it's 15 pounds down, it's not a surprise that you're actually having to get to work again on something harder. You've evolved, you've hit that metamorphosis, you've leveled up. Now you can handle it. I would not have been able to handle a 2 sessions of HIIT training, like at an actual field, right? Sprint 60 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards, 6 times, twice a week. I would not be able to do that 3 years ago. Getting up there now, it's more like, do I want to do this? Can I do this? I know I can, so it's on me to do that. It is a great way to torch fat and to build up your cardio capacity, your VO2 max. So there's no reason why I can't do it. It's not like my knees are going out or my back hurts. So that's the whole thing, is what's going to push me to do that and hold that consistently. And then when I look back on a photo of this time period now, I'll say, oh yeah, wow, I was really in shape to do that. Right? There's people who would kill to be in the shape that you're in the position that I'm in, the shape that I'm in, but who for whatever reason can't be. And thinking about that a little bit beforehand makes me inspired to do it while I can.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, for, to continue in working, of course, and like, for example, for you, for Catalina, for your family, and likewise, for my family as well, to where my strength is needed, physically, emotionally, and mentally, because, at the end of the day, we have to tend to our family. So.
And it's much better when you're in shape.
When you're in shape. Yes. Or you have to, when you go to school and the elevator isn't working, you have to take the stairs. Oh, huffing and puffing.
But imagine, that's another great micro adjustment, is just not taking the elevator. So take the stairs every single time you see stairs when there's an elevator option. And that sounds like torture. But I do it all the time, right? So the only time I take the elevator is when I'm with Catalina, because she's not climbing up 4 flights of stairs, right? But the whole thing is, if you knew next week there was going to be a physical demand, like no one else was doing it, but you had to do it. You had to step up to that invitation for it. Would you be able to do it? Could you do it, right? And for me, it's stuff like, carrying. Let's go with okay, here's one. If Catalina were to wander away from me while I'm unloading the car, how fast would I be able to move to grab her back to safety, right? Especially in a parking lot. That's why I keep my eyes constantly on vigilance with her in a parking lot. I say, don't get out of my arm's reach. Like, get out of the car, stand right near the back tire, right here, or stand on the curb and constantly have my head on a swivel when she's on the curb. Right? How fast would I be? How long would it take to just sprint and pick her up? Right? So that is, it's key to me not skipping stretching. Right? And I try and stretch for 30 minutes when I'm working out. And then when it's time to, watching YouTube or whatever movie, stretching between time too, right? Just getting the habit of taking a little bit of a moment to do a little bit of a stretch, just so that I'm able to work on the flexibility, break up the lactic acid that's built up from working out, keep the muscles moving, have the blood flowing. Right? So, nature, a lion stretches, right? Stretches first before it takes off. The cheetah stretches before it starts looking at the gazelles, right? That's well before. Right? Your dog, how's the Modi wakes up from a nap, immediately she stretches. Yes. And that's ingrained instinctually, right? So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. So, that's the whole thing. Imagine there's a tragedy, right? There's a car crash and you're involved. Whether you're in it or you witness it, you go to help. You don't want to throw out your back trying to help someone. So right now, here's that training for that.
And right now I just thought about a friend who took her daughter to Disneyland, and they didn't allow her to get on the ride, and her daughter wanted to get on the ride. And it's just, she said, that's when I realized that I wasn't focusing on myself, that I wasn't a priority in my, life.
Oh, you mean physique-wise?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, oh man.
So it's where you're not including yourself in your average day too, because, well, of course you have other priorities, right? In this case, she has her family, but then that's what she realized, I have to do something about my health. What am I doing? And what's my average day? But where I'm included.
Absolutely. And that situation is all too real. And let me just tell you this. When I lost 100 pounds and I went onto an airplane and buckled myself into the seat, there was such relief having so much slack on the seatbelt. When at 3:35, sometimes it wouldn't even fit, right? And I'd pretend like it fit, like I'd put it close and then put my arm over my seatbelt, right, and pretend like I'm asleep. So the the flight steward would just, oh, that person has a seatbelt on, right? But then to not hide it, and then there's nothing to hide. That was something that was almost a foreign concept, right? So there's such relief when you have a wake up moment of saying, oh man, I need to prioritize my health, and then work day in, day out. Your average day looks like this. You've adjusted to working out. 3 months later, you're gonna look different and feel different. A year later, you're gonna feel different and look different. 4 years later of that consistency, there will be changes, right? You don't. All right, let's say that's phase one, right? Because that person would have went from not working out to working out and then seeing the results. The next level would be saying, oh, if I've been going to the gym now for 2 years, do I look the same as when I did a year ago? No. I've been going to the gym for 10 years. Do I look the same as when I did 10 years ago? And there's plenty of people at the gym who look exactly the same as day one than to day 1,000, day 10,000, right? And I'm not making too much of a critique on that. It's more saying you're gonna have to challenge yourself and push harder for that challenge, and to maintain it. Maintaining still is a challenge for not having done anything previously, and then not being able to enjoy time with your family or doing whatever that entertaining thing is, like going to the amusement park, because you were too large, right? So yeah, this is the whole thing of changing up what your habit was, and then sticking with it, and then remembering why, and then pushing harder.
What's your why?
My why? Oh, easily, Catalina. Longevity with Catalina. Then also to be a temple of the Holy Spirit. And you might think St. Paul had said that. Schwarzenegger said that in Pumping Iron. He said, "Oh, my body is a temple of the Holy Spirit." Right. So the I think the looking better, like more aesthetically pleasing, and feeling good, that's a side effect. That's a consequence of that consistency. Because I don't know if there's ever been a day. Well, maybe I can name a couple times. I'm like, I'm gonna go here to get a pump on so I look good for Marianne. And that's not the typical motivator, right? That because what did you say earlier? Like one of the opening questions about being motivated.
If I'm not motivated,
I'm not motivated.
Well, how can I motivate myself, or what do I do?
That having that why, I think there's another. My default voice is stronger than saying, "Oh, because I wanna look good for my lady," right? I think the deeper you get with your why will override your default voice of not going to the gym or pushing it off to the next day. So.
Absolutely.
We're coming up on a close for this, but if this was the first time listener episode, for episode 6, the whole gist is breaking away from the negative routine that got you to the place that you're at right now, but then adjusting it to be, this is a challenge, but it's a process, and my process is what the average day is. And then having a backup plan for when Murphy comes knocking, right? So, oh, actually, here's a surprise for your day. Here's a surprise. What are you going to do? Oh, instead of going to the gym in the morning at this ungodly hour, 4:30 in the morning, and be there at 5 when they open, I'm going to go at 9 a.m. Oh, the 9 a.m. doesn't work? I know I'm going to be going at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. doesn't work out? I know I'm going to be going at 7:30 p.m. At 7:30 p.m. is the safety net, right? Because going to bed too late to work out, only to work out again, it is less than ideal. That's the only way to say it. But at what point do you make that sacrifice? So.
Right, you just have to find the hour or where you feel motivated. I noticed that I feel more motivated in the morning, like at, when I go to the morning class than the evening class.
Absolutely.
At the evening class, I'm like drained from the day, and I'm like, oh, I have no energy. Whereas when I was going to the gym twice a day, okay, I was motivated, right? But now with my schedule, as long as I go once and in the morning where I feel motivated, okay, let's get it out of the way, then okay, yeah, definitely. It's just finding, adjusting your schedule to include yourself in your schedule.
And these are small adjustments, the micro adjustments. And a really great test that I love to do is signing up for that 8-week weight loss challenge at the gym. And the one time I placed a couple times, but it wasn't a major placement. I came in 5th place. That was the highest one that I'd ever come in, which is not qualifying you for, a bumper sticker for the gym. But every single time that I did this, the person who won was the person who had never been at the gym before and then started working out consistently. And I remember that one that I placed 5th for. I had lost, I want to say 17 pounds in 8 weeks and was feeling great. The person who came in number 1 spot lost 75 pounds. They were morbidly obese, but then they started lifting weights and doing cardio. So that we call them newbie gains, right? When you're brand new to the gym, you work out like crazy. Yeah, that's when your body gets shocked into fitness because it is not used to this. For me, I had already been doing this regularly, and so it's harder to have that same shock to the system without doing something like keto or making some major adjustments, right? So their average was completely different to my average, and then focusing on it got different results. So this whole moment is saying moving from having no idea what to do to, oh, I have a goal, and it's not just some willy-nilly goal, and then it's focusing on that goal for 8 weeks, right? That's, I think, in everyone's fitness journey, you always put yourself in competition against yourself. That's why we call it you versus you. But you test it when you get in that same competitive mode for 8 weeks against someone else. You can see those results, and then what do they call it? Sportsmanship, right? Sportsmanship is saying, hey man, you did a great job. You rightfully won 1st place by dropping 75 pounds in 8 weeks. I still won too. I didn't come in number 1, but I lost 17 pounds, and so I'm marching closer to what my goal is, right? So that's really the win-win situation. So yeah. Oh, the the last takeaway from setting up what the average day is and it being a crash course is saying the 3 tiers of discipline, the monument, 3 posts, 3 columns are working out, having the consistency there, the refueling and recovery phase, right? That's tier number 2, and then 3, the 3rd tier is rest. If you have those 3 points of focus and you're consistent on it, you will see a change. So just stick with that and go from there. This is Dave Woods and
Alicia Morales
on You vs. You. I can only give you the key to my success, but you have to unlock that door and walk through it yourself.
Awesome, Dave.
Awesome.
Now I feel more motivated.
Hey, let's do it.
No, seriously. Like, keep going. More information, right? To digest, right, and put it into practice.
Put it into practice
in our lifestyle. Definitely, it's very motivating. Thanks.
Praise God. Let's do it. Peace.